Hey everybody. In this video, I kind of want to take a closer look at Songbird. As you can see, when was it, about 36 minutes ago, Flare came out with this new blog post introducing Songbird, the canary network for Flare. I just read through it. I like it. I like it a lot, and I'm going to go through it now in a second with you. I'm literally going to read it and just explain kind of side thoughts. So, as you can see, I liked it. I retweeted it, and let's jump right in. So here we go. This is it. You'll find it on the Flare website, on the blogs, and it's called Introducing Songbird. So I'm just going to scroll down to give you an idea. I've taken some notes. I've highlighted some stuff. We'll run through it all. I'm just going to read it. And what I'd love for you to do is, if you have any questions about this, please place it down below in the comments so I can look into it a bit more and maybe help you understand it a little bit better. For now, let's get started. So, introducing Songbird, the canary network for Flare. We are excited to release our updated plans on the development and launch of Flare. At Flare, we have been conducting extensive testing of the network and the various core Flare protocols that are intended to provide utility. Our testing has now reached a point with many elements where little more can be understood from further testing on an isolated test network. So just to kind of clarify, they've done all the testing they can within like a safe environment. And as I say in the next sentence, we will now progress to live testing, right? So they want to test it in the real world. So that's kind of what this whole thing is about. Let me continue. We will now progress to live testing on an operational blockchain in an adversarial environment. In the next 6 weeks, we will be releasing a canary network for Flare called Songbird. Okay, so this is pretty cool. So first of all, what is a canary network? Now, they explain this down here. I'll read it and then I'll explain it a bit more. So a canary network is an operational blockchain with a defined and hence scarce token supply that is intended to be used to test features for a related mainnet. So on a canary network, users have a balance that cannot just be replenished at will. This is in contrast to a testnet, which generally has an unlimited token supply available in increments to any user through a faucet. Now, just want to explain a canary network a bit more. So why is it called a canary network? Because it can copy the real thing, right? You can kind of create an environment very much like the real one, obviously, but it's not, right? So you can test stuff in a very realistic environment, right? So that's kind of what a canary network is. Just explaining here. So on a canary network, users can have a balance that cannot be replenished at will. So basically, you're going to get a certain amount of tokens, and if you run out of them, that's it. They're gone. You're not going to get them back. Okay, so it's kind of like in the real world. It's not just like, I don't know, like a video game where you have a number of lives, and if you die, you just start again. This is it. If it's gone, it's gone. Okay, so that's just wanted to point that out. Let me continue reading. The defined and scarce token supply may confer value to the token. Now, I've highlighted this here because of the word confer, I guess you'd say it, because I'm guessing a lot of non-English speakers, this might confuse them a little bit. Basically, what they're saying here is that you might think because it's a test network that it doesn't have any value, but actually because it is scarce, it might actually become valuable and therefore get a value, right? So as it says kind of in the next sentence, potentially making it attractive to attackers such that testing is as real as it can possibly get. So because it's scarce, people might want it, and if people want it, obviously they might try to attack the network and kind of steal it, which is good because then Flare knows, okay, how good is this network like from protecting against attackers, and also might be good for us because like they might be actually worth something. So basically, we're getting another free token here, and who knows what it's going to be worth. My prediction is not a lot, but hey, we'll see. Okay, so here, this allows for the hardening of the system under testing, right? So this is what I meant when the attackers kind of attack the system. Polkadot is the originator of the canary network concept with their Kusama network. Now, if you don't know what that is, I've opened it up here. So you can kind of see here, Kusama, right? This is kind of what they're talking about here. Like I'm not going to go into all of this stuff. They explained it a bit more here. So if you'd like to, just check it out. It's kusama.network. That's the website, and they explain a lot more here about it. Okay, I'm just going to pop back in here. So what is the whole purpose of Songbird? So Songbird is the canary network for Flare. It will have two distinct phases. So prior to launch, Songbird will be instrumental in the continued testing of the Flare Time Series Oracle, or FTSO, the state connector, and F-asset systems and the network architecture. So basically what you're saying here is before actually the whole Flare thing goes live, they're going to use Songbird to just test everything, like make sure that it all works the way it's supposed to. And in this way, doing it this way, like if it doesn't work, then you're only losing you potentially could lose your like the Songbird tokens, right? And not your actual Flare tokens. This is pretty cool. Just going to continue reading. So the FTSO and F-asset protocols will be live on Songbird with F-assets generated from the underlying tokens. This will improve the security, stability, and credibility for the ultimate launch of Flare. So basically, they're just testing more stuff. Okay, and then after launch, right? So post-Flare launch, Songbird is intended to be a long-term network for testing governance-led changes to Flare, such as the incorporation of new F-assets, changes to the FTSO, so that's the Flare Time Series Oracle, and F-asset systems, or any other network. So what they're saying here basically is it's not like once the network's all live, that this will then just disappear. They're going to keep it around because basically they're going to use it for anything new. So whenever someone wants to introduce something new, it can be tested here first before it goes live on the real network. So it's just going to stay around. And actually the cool thing about it, and this is what they mention here in a second as well, so I'm just going to continue and I'll point it out. In all periods, Songbird has two other core uses. So first, advanced testing and community building for applications that wish to launch on Flare, right? So what I just said there. So anything new will test on Songbird first before it goes onto Flare. Just going to continue reading again. Ideally, all applications that launch on Flare, especially those that utilize the FTSO, or Flare Time Series Oracle, and F-asset systems, will test initially on Songbird. So once again, they're just repeating themselves. It's just going to be tested on Songbird first before it goes live on Flare. Second, as a way for Flare token holders to familiarize themselves with key Flare protocols, such as delegation to the FTSO, so the Flare Time Series Oracle, minting of F-assets, and usage of applications that build on Flare without putting their Flare tokens at risk, or their Spark tokens, I should say, FLR. So this is very cool. I've had a lot of reactions on my previous video that I did on Flare, and people were like kind of worried about how it will all work. It seems too technical. What happens if it goes wrong and they lose their tokens? So this is fantastic, right? Because basically what they've created is an environment for you to test it all out and try and get used to it before you actually do it for real. So you'll know by the time you're actually doing it for real exactly how it all works. So yeah, I think you can really, really be happy with this. It's kind of like a, what do they call it? Like a sandbox environment or whatever. So you can play around with it, test it. If you lose your tokens, okay, you lose them, but look, you got them for free anyway, right? Yeah, your FLR or your Spark tokens will still be safe. So that's pretty cool. Let's continue here. Flare will launch with all the tested core protocols. So FTSO, Flare Time Series Oracle, initial F-assets and state connector. So basically all of it will just go live in one go. The use of Songbird as the testbed for potential updates to Flare means that between Flare and Songbird will often be the more advanced network, right? And this is kind of what I mentioned a minute ago that I wanted to kind of stress, which is pretty cool because people will be testing stuff on Songbird first before it goes live on Flare. It's not crazy to think, of course, then that Songbird will be like technically more advanced, right, than Flare, because it goes there first, then it gets tested, and once it's all approved, then it goes over to the Songbird network. So that's pretty cool. Just something to keep in mind, right? So not only is it something that will just like test a lot of stuff and whatever, but like it will also be more advanced because of that. So it just might be cool to keep an eye on Songbird to see what might be the future of Flare, right? Just wanted to point that out. So innovations and new decentralized apps, right? So dApps. Launches will happen first on Songbird and then maybe rolled out on Flare after testing, right? once again, that's also maybe important to kind of stress out. When it goes to Songbird first, it does not mean that it's 100% going to Flare, right? Because maybe the test fails, right? That could happen as well. Well, let me continue reading. This makes Songbird its own type of network, which may be useful in isolation to applications that do not need the intended stability of Flare, but which wish to enjoy the core Flare protocols and potentially move advanced features that Songbird may offer ahead of Flare. Right, so once again, we're kind of just repeating what we said. This might generally appeal to low-value applications, whereas Flare might appeal to applications handling greater amounts of value. I'm not completely sure myself right now why this would be more attractive to low value, while Flare would be to greater value. The only thing that I can think of right now, and obviously this just came out half an hour ago, so I'll need to think about this a bit longer, but because Flare is more secure, it's a bit safer, it's been tested, that you'd feel better having greater value on it, and you might not feel completely comfortable putting it on a test network, right? So that's why you might want to keep it low, but that's kind of my initial reaction to it. I'll have to think about it a bit longer to see if there's anything else meant here, but I'll get back to you on that one. Okay, so the Songbird token. So I've highlighted a good few things here coming up. So this is kind of stuff that I think was just to take note of. So Songbird will have its own token, right? It will be called Songbird, and the abbreviation is SGB. It will be distributed only once, right? So only once. And the same, I have to sneeze 1 second. Sorry about that. I will cut that out. Okay, I'm back again. So it will be distributed only once and in the same ratio to all the same recipients of the FLR or Spark token distribution. I keep mixing up. I keep wanting to say Flare when I see FLR, but it's Spark. So the total starting supply will be 15 billion with an initial inflation of 10% per annum through the FTSO and validator reward system. Now, I just want to make sure that everyone understands that part as well. So we'll start off with 15 billion, and the inflation, right, means that it will be created every year. That's the per annum part. It will be 10%. So basically they're printing money, right? And they're going to print it at a rate of 10% per year. And it will be brought into to market through the FTSO, so the Flare Time Series Oracle, and the validator reward system, right? And if you have not seen my other video, check it out, because I kind of explain a little bit more about the FTSO and how you can earn using it. But basically, when you delegate your vote, you can earn Flare, right? And now, same kind of thing here through the FTSO. They will be distributing the Songbird token, right, at 10% per year. So basically, just to keep in mind here, just want to make sure that you kind of understand why I'm stressing this, is if you do nothing and you just hold, the supply will grow by 10% each year, but your portion of that will stay the same. So technically, all right, you're going to, the percentage that you hold will become smaller every year. But if you participate in a network, and how it's all going to work, we'll find out a bit later, and I'll definitely cover that in videos. But if you participate in the network, you'll probably either grow with the network to keep it the same, or even earn more so that your percentage will actually grow over time. But we'll cover that in a different video. Okay, it's going to continue here again. This means for every 1 XRP that was held at the time of the snapshot, 0.1511 SGB will be allocated. So for every 1 XRP that you had, you're going to get 0.1511 Songbird. Okay, so just keep in, that's kind of what you, if you wanted to know how much you're going to receive. Continuing again, there will be no predefined minting reward pool. Instead, the supply will remain with the Flare Foundation. If you claimed your Spark through self-custody, right guys, so if you use your ledger and that kind of stuff, listen up here, you will use the same Ethereum style address, but with a different chain ID across Songbird. And now, so that's for that, for the self-custody guys. Now, if you use an exchange, listen up now. If you claimed your Spark token through an exchange, they will receive the SGB on your behalf. You will need to ask them to distribute it to you. Okay, so you will have to contact your exchange and ask them. Now, I personally use Nexo for it, so I will ask Nexo in a tweet on Twitter after I record this video if they are aware of this and if they will just automatically distribute it or what they'll do. So if you also use Nexo, maybe just give my my tweet a like and a retweet or something, just that we get Nexo's attention. Other than that, obviously, many exchanges were available, so just make sure you reach out to your one as well. Okay, moving on. The governance. So similar to Flare, the SGB, so the Songbird token, can be used to perform a governance role. So governance, for people who don't know, is basically you have a say in what happens. Okay, so the more tokens you have, the more decision power you'll have as well. Now, unlike Flare, this would not be over the implementation of changes to Songbird itself, as Songbird is subordinated to Flare for that purpose, right? Because obviously Flare wants to use it as a test network, right? They don't want people voting and kind of taking that away from them, right? So they just said, look, there are certain things that you will and certain things that you're not allowed to decide on this test network, which is, I think, is very fair, because this whole reason they created it is to test stuff before it goes on Flare. So governance could, however, be useful in adding additional chains, prices, and F assets that haven't been suggested by Flare governance to the Songbird state connector, FTSO, and F asset protocols respectively. So basically, if you want to get different types of F assets and that kind of stuff, they will allow you to have a say in that. Now we're getting close to the end, guys, and I know I'm reading through this very slowly, but I want to make sure everyone explains it, or everyone understands it, sorry. So the launch order. So Songbird will first launch as a pure EVM. EVM stands for Ethereum Virtual Machine, a smart contract network. This will enable testing of the Flare network architecture. Sorry, 1 second. Sorry guys, had to have a sip of water there, bit of a dry mouth. So Songbird will launch first as a pure Ethereum Virtual Machine smart contract network. This will enable testing of the network architecture, and for the initiation of testing of third-party dApps, so decentralized applications. Subsequently, the FTSO, State Connector, and F Assets systems will be enabled. So this is just the order in which it's going to happen. For us, not very important right now, right? Just know that this is the order that will happen. So the Flare launch. Flare will launch. There's substantial testing of all systems on Songbird, with the current final security audit scheduled to finish at the end of September. Okay, so basically, very clear. Flare will launch after testing. Okay, so it's not going to happen yet. The final tests are scheduled for the end of September. So I just want to be very clear. If you want to know when you're going to get your Flare, it's not going to be before the end of September. Okay, before then you will get your Songbird, but you won't get the actual Spark tokens before the end of September. Okay, moving on. Chaos warning. Songbird should not be considered a production-ready network. As I said, it's a test network where people will be messing around and testing stuff, right? So they're just pointing that out again. It is for testing of the integrity of the proposed production network, Flare, proposed governance updates over time, the Flare core protocols, and decentralized apps launching on Flare. Now, the next part I highlight as well, just to stress this. The Flare team makes no promise to continue support or development of Songbird in the future. Even though it will exist and everyone will be able to test stuff on it, Flare just doesn't make any promises to what they'll be using it for in the future, right? So right now, they're very clear, and it doesn't really matter for us right now. And this thing is the next one I highlighted in red as well, because I think it's very important. The team at Flare, and likely various teams testing their decentralized apps on Songbird, will be actively trying to find and exploit bugs and other issues and break the network. Right? You have to realize they're trying to break it. So don't expect everything to run smoothly on it, okay? Because they're actively trying to break it, because that will give us more protection, right, for Flare network, right? If this thing cannot be broken, and they're just going to stress it and break it and do whatever they can. So just be aware, and don't start complaining if something doesn't run well, because they're warning you right now. They're actively going to try to break it. And the last thing here, please therefore be aware that Songbird comes with a potential for loss of liveness, so the system might go down, token loss, right, and risk that the potentially greater than main net deployment. Sorry, token loss and risk that is potentially. Oh yeah, of course. It's more riskier on the test network than it is on the final Flare network. So that's everything here. And as they say, last sentence: measure twice, cut once. They just want to make sure that everything works before they go live. Now, I'm personally very happy to see this. I'd love to know what you guys think. Yeah, let me know in the comments or send me a tweet or something. Just let you know. I have also started to do this, by the way, is a completely different subject. I've started to put out 1 minute videos, they're called shorts, with just a bit of news articles, so you can kind of select them, which ones you want to and don't want to watch as well. So check them out as well. For now, guys, I want to say thank you for listening here. I know I read through it quite slow, but I hope I explained everything very clearly. All right, guys, thank you very much and have a great day.